You don't need more time, more luck, or more motivation. You need a stronger mind. The harsh truth is this: your life is not hard. You are just undisciplined. Every excuse you repeat, every comfort you choose, every time you delay action, you are training yourself to stay weak. The world doesn't respect potential. It respects power, mental power, emotional control, and relentless execution. If you're tired of feeling average, overlooked, and stuck, then listen carefully, because this is where everything changes. If you don't control your mind, it will sabotage every part of your life without asking for permission. The mind is not neutral. It is either trained or it is wild. And an untrained mind always chooses comfort, excuses, and weakness. Every time you wake up and negotiate with yourself, every time you say, just today, every time you let emotion override logic, you are handing control to a version of yourself that is designed to keep you small. Weakness is not a personality trait. It is a habit, and habits are built through repetition. The mind learns fast. If you teach it that quitting is acceptable, it will quit faster next time. If you teach it that discipline is optional, it will remove it completely. This is why most people stay stuck, not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because their mind has been trained to avoid pressure. Pressure reveals who you really are. And most people run from it because they are terrified of seeing the truth. Your thoughts decide your actions long before your body moves. If your mind is soft, your life will be soft. Strong people don't have magical confidence, they have mental control. They don't ask themselves how they feel before acting, because feelings are unreliable. Feelings change with weather, sleep, opinions, and fear. Logic doesn't care. Discipline doesn't care. The strongest minds operate on commands, not emotions. When the alarm rings, they move. When work gets heavy, they push. When motivation disappears, they continue. This is mental dominance, forcing yourself to do what must be done even when every excuse feels convincing. The mind will lie to protect comfort. It will tell you you're tired, unlucky, misunderstood, or not ready. Those lies sound reasonable, which is why they are dangerous. Most people are mentally weak because they've never challenged their own thoughts. They believe every excuse their mind produces. They identify with fear and call it realism. They identify with laziness and call it balance. A controlled mind questions every internal voice. It asks, is this true or is this convenient? The moment you start interrogating your thoughts instead of obeying them, power shifts. You realize that thoughts are suggestions, not orders. You don't have to act on them. You can observe fear without obeying it. You can feel discomfort without escaping it. This is where real strength begins, not in muscles or money, but in refusing to let your inner weakness dictate your behavior. Mental control is built the same way physical strength is built through resistance. If you avoid hard things, your mind weakens. If you chase difficulty, your mind adapts. Every uncomfortable action you complete rewires your identity. When you do what you said you would do, even when it's painful, your self-respect grows. When you break promises to yourself, your confidence collapses. This is why discipline creates belief. You don't become confident by thinking positively. You become confident by proving to yourself repeatedly that you are reliable under pressure. A mind that trusts itself is unstoppable. A mind that doubts itself collapses at the first sign of resistance. Distraction is another weapon against mental control. The modern world is designed to keep your mind noisy, emotional, and weak. Endless entertainment, constant validation, and cheap pleasure keep you mentally sedated. A distracted mind cannot focus, and a mind that cannot focus cannot dominate anything. Focus is power, the ability to sit with boredom, to work without applause, to improve without recognition. This separates leaders from followers. If you need motivation, approval, or comfort to function, you are not in control. Control means acting regardless of external conditions. Silence strengthens the mind. Solitude sharpens it. When you reduce noise, your thoughts become clear, and clarity leads to decisive action. Fear is the final test of mental control. Fear never disappears, it only changes shape. The goal is not to eliminate fear, but to move forward while it's present. Weak minds wait for confidence. Strong minds act first and let confidence catch up. Courage is a decision, not a feeling. Every time you move toward what scares you, fear loses authority. Every time you avoid it, fear gains control. This is why avoidance is addictive. It feels safe, but it slowly erodes your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who doesn't act, and that belief becomes your prison. The mind must be trained daily, not occasionally. One strong decision does not make you strong. Consistency does. You don't rise to the level of your motivation, you fall to the level of your mental discipline. That discipline is built in small moments that nobody sees. Finishing the task when you want to quit, staying silent instead of reacting emotionally, choosing progress over pleasure. These moments compound. Over time, your mind stops arguing. It understands that excuses are not entertained. At that point, action becomes automatic and weakness has no place to hide. Comfort is the most dangerous addiction on the planet because it doesn't feel like a problem while it's destroying you. It whispers instead of shouting. It tells you that you deserve rest before you've earned it, that tomorrow is a better time, that staying where you are is safer than risking failure. Comfort never attacks you directly. It slowly convinces you to lower your standards until mediocrity feels normal. The moment you choose comfort over effort, you trade long-term power for short-term relief. That trade always ends the same way: regret. People don't ruin their lives overnight. They relax their discipline one comfortable decision at a time. Growth has never lived in comfort. Every meaningful upgrade in your life will demand discomfort first. Your body grows by tearing muscle. Your mind grows by facing pressure. Your character grows by doing what's hard when it would be easier to quit. Comfort resists all of that. It keeps you in familiar routines, predictable environments, and safe conversations. It rewards you instantly while stealing from your future. That's why comfort feels so attractive. It pays now and charges interest later. Pain, on the other hand, feels expensive in the moment, but pays dividends for life. Strong people understand this trade and choose struggle on purpose. Most people say they want success, but their daily habits expose the truth. They want the results without the resistance. They want confidence without embarrassment, strength without soreness, wealth without sacrifice. That fantasy has never worked for anyone. Every winner you admire paid a price you don't see. They woke up when it was uncomfortable, stayed disciplined when it was boring, and pushed through doubt when quitting felt reasonable. Comfort would have given them excuses. Discipline gave them results. You cannot live a soft life and expect a hard legacy. Comfort also lies by redefining weakness as self-care. Rest is necessary, but rest without effort is decay. There is a difference between recovery and avoidance. Recovery prepares you to go back into the fight stronger. Avoidance keeps you away from the fight entirely. Comfort encourages avoidance. It tells you to scroll instead of study, to sleep instead of train, to complain instead of improve. It turns potential into procrastination. Over time, you stop feeling hungry for more because comfort numbs your ambition. That numbness is dangerous because you don't feel pain immediately, you just feel stuck. The mind adapts to whatever environment you place it in. If you surround yourself with ease, your tolerance for hardship collapses. Small challenges feel overwhelming. Discipline feels extreme. Accountability feels offensive. But if you deliberately place yourself in difficult situations, your capacity expands. What once felt impossible becomes normal. This is how resilience is built. You don't become strong by avoiding stress. You become strong by surviving it repeatedly. Comfort shields you from stress, but in doing so, it keeps you fragile. Fragile minds break when life inevitably applies pressure. Choosing discomfort is not about suffering aimlessly. It's about suffering with direction. There is a difference between pain that destroys and pain that sharpens. Comfort avoids both, but discipline selects the pain that builds. Waking up early hurts, but it builds control. Training hard hurts, but it builds confidence. Saying no to distractions hurts, but it builds focus. Facing your flaws hurts, but it builds self-mastery. This kind of pain creates pride. Comfort creates shame, even if you don't admit it. Deep down, you know when you're taking the easy way out, and that awareness slowly erodes your self-respect. Comfort also makes you mentally lazy. When everything is easy, your problem-solving ability weakens. You start relying on others to save you, motivate you, or rescue you from consequences. Discomfort forces independence. It forces you to think, adapt, and take responsibility. That's why strong individuals are often forged in difficult environments. They had no choice but to grow. When you voluntarily choose discomfort, you accelerate that growth without waiting for life to break you first. Life will apply pressure eventually. The only question is whether you'll be ready when it does. The pursuit of comfort keeps people average because it rewards sameness. Comfortable routines create predictable outcomes. If you want an uncommon life, you need uncommon standards. That means being willing to look different, feel uncomfortable, and disappoint people who expect you to stay the same. Comfort seeks approval. Growth accepts isolation. When you raise your standards, not everyone will understand. Some will criticize, some will mock, and some will feel threatened. Comfort tells you to blend in. Strength tells you to stand alone if necessary. Discomfort also clarifies priorities. When things get hard, excuses disappear and truth shows up. You learn what you actually want versus what you merely like the idea of. Comfort keeps everything vague. It allows you to say you're trying without committing. Pressure demands decisions. Decisions create identity. Every time you choose discomfort, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you choose comfort, you reinforce the person you are trying to escape. The people who win are not the ones with the best circumstances. They are the ones who tolerate discomfort longer than everyone else. They stay in the work when it's boring. They stay disciplined when no one is watching. They stay focused when comfort is begging for attention. Over time, comfort loses its grip because their mind associates pain with progress and ease with stagnation. That shift changes everything. When discomfort becomes familiar, fear loses power. When comfort loses control, growth becomes inevitable. Most people destroy their own potential not because they lack ideas, but because they drown in them. They talk, they plan, they announce, they promise, yet nothing moves. Talking creates the illusion of progress without the pain of execution. It feels productive, but it produces nothing. Every time you explain your goals instead of acting on them, you release the pressure that should have forced you to work. Words give temporary relief. Action gives permanent results. This is why silent execution is so powerful. It leaves no room for ego, no space for excuses, and no comfort in approval. You either did the work or you didn't. Reality doesn't care what you said you were going to do. Execution is uncomfortable because it exposes you. When you talk, you can hide behind intentions. When you act, results judge you. That's why weak minds stay in discussion mode. They debate, research endlessly, wait for the perfect moment, and polish plans that never meet reality. Strong minds understand that clarity comes from movement, not thinking. You don't think your way into discipline, you act your way into it. Action creates feedback. Feedback creates adjustment. Adjustment creates progress. Sitting still creates nothing but doubt. The world is full of people who sound intelligent and accomplished but have nothing to show for it. They know the right words, the right concepts, the right theories. Knowledge without execution is useless. In fact, it's dangerous because it convinces you that you're ahead when you're actually stuck. Action humbles you quickly. It reveals gaps in your skills, weaknesses in your strategy, and flaws in your mindset. That discomfort is necessary. It sharpens you. Talking keeps you comfortable. Execution forces growth. Most people wait for motivation before acting. That's backwards. Motivation is a side effect of action, not a prerequisite. The first step always feels heavy. The second feels easier. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence fuels consistency. But none of that happens until you move. The mind resists action because action demands energy and risk. Talking costs nothing. That's why excuses sound intelligent. They protect you from failure while quietly guaranteeing it. Silent execution also protects your focus. The moment you tell people your plans, you invite opinions, doubts, and distractions. Some will discourage you. Some will question you. Some will secretly hope you fail so they can feel better about staying where they are. Even praise is dangerous. Approval can replace progress. When people congratulate you for what you haven't done yet, your mind feels rewarded prematurely. Execution removes that trap. You work in isolation. You build without noise. Results speak when they are ready. Consistency beats intensity every time, and consistency is built through execution, not excitement. Anyone can feel motivated for a day. Very few can act when motivation is gone. That's where execution becomes a discipline. You show up because it's who you are, not because you feel like it. This is how professionals think. They don't wait for inspiration. They operate on standards. Standards remove emotion from the equation. When execution becomes routine, progress becomes inevitable. Fear also collapses under execution. Fear thrives in imagination. The longer you think, the bigger it gets. Action shrinks fear by exposing it. Most of what you're afraid of loses power the moment you confront it. Rejection, failure, embarrassment, these things are painful but survivable. Avoidance makes them monstrous. Execution makes them manageable. Every action taken builds proof that you can handle pressure. That proof rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who talks and start seeing yourself as someone who does. Execution is not about perfection, it's about direction. Waiting to be ready is another form of delay. You become ready by doing. You get better by starting badly and improving publicly or privately through repetition. The first attempt will be messy. The second will be better. The 10th will be solid. The 100th will be dangerous. But none of those attempts exist if you stay stuck in planning. Action compounds. Talking resets. There is also a brutal honesty in execution that most people avoid. You cannot lie to yourself when results are visible. Either the work is done or it isn't. Either progress happened or it didn't. This accountability builds integrity. Integrity builds self-respect. Self-respect builds confidence. Talking without doing destroys that chain. It creates internal conflict because your words and actions don't align. Over time, that disconnect kills belief in yourself. The people who win move fast and adjust faster. They don't wait for perfect conditions because perfect conditions don't exist. They execute with what they have, where they are, and improve along the way. Speed creates learning. Learning creates advantage. Hesitation creates regret. When you look back at wasted years, it's never because you acted too much. It's because you waited too long. Execution is lonely, repetitive, and often boring. That's why it works. Most people can't tolerate boredom without stimulation. They need constant excitement, validation, or novelty. Execution requires patience. It requires doing the same hard things over and over without immediate reward. That grind filters out the weak. Those who remain build something real. And when results finally show up, they look effortless to outsiders who never saw the years of silent work. At the highest level, execution becomes identity. You don't talk about what you're going to do because you're too busy doing it. You don't seek permission or applause. You move, you adjust, you dominate your own lane. Words become unnecessary because outcomes speak louder. That's the power of execution. It removes debate. It replaces noise with proof. And proof is something no excuse can argue with. Your identity is the invisible force that controls every decision you make when no one is watching. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who quits, who makes excuses, who breaks promises to himself, then no amount of motivation will save you. Motivation is temporary, identity is permanent. Every action you take is a vote for the person you think you are, and over time those votes lock in a self-image that either empowers you or traps you. This is why real change doesn't start with habits, it starts with identity. Most people let their identity be shaped by past failures, opinions of others, or the environment they grew up in. They accept labels they never chose. Lazy, average, unlucky, not disciplined. Once a label is accepted, behavior follows it automatically. The mind always works to stay consistent with identity. If you believe you are weak, you will subconsciously act weak to confirm that belief. This is not fate, it's conditioning. The danger is that the longer you live with an identity you didn't design, the harder it becomes to imagine anything else. Building an unbreakable identity requires a conscious decision to redefine yourself regardless of your past. You decide what standards you live by and then enforce them without negotiation. When you say you train, you train. When you say you work, you work. When you say you're disciplined, you act disciplined even when it hurts. This consistency between word and action is what hardens identity. Weakness survives in inconsistency. Strength is built in alignment. An unbreakable identity is not based on moods or outcomes. It's based on principles. If you only act when you're winning, your identity is fragile. If you only feel confident when things go well, your self-image is dependent on external validation. Strong identity operates independently of results. You show up even when you're losing. You stay disciplined even when progress is invisible. This is what makes it unbreakable. Nothing external can shake it because it's rooted in internal standards. You must also understand that identity is protected through boundaries. If you tolerate behaviors that contradict who you want to be, your identity weakens. Every time you compromise, you send a message to yourself that your standards are flexible. Flexible standards create unstable identity. This is why strong individuals are ruthless with their time, energy, and environment. They avoid places, people, and habits that pull them back into an old version of themselves. This is not arrogance, it's self-preservation. The mind will test your new identity relentlessly. It will remind you of who you used to be. It will replay failures and tempt you to return to familiar patterns. This is the hardest phase, when the new identity feels fake because it hasn't been proven yet. But identity is proven through repetition, not feelings. You act first, belief follows later. Every disciplined action reinforces the new self-image until it feels natural. What once felt forced becomes automatic. Unbreakable identity also accepts loneliness. When you change, not everyone will come with you. Some will feel uncomfortable because your discipline exposes their excuses. Others will try to pull you back to protect their own identity. You must be willing to stand alone rather than fit in. Approval is expensive if it costs you your standards. Respect yourself more than you want to be liked. Once identity is solid, decision-making becomes simple. You no longer debate with weakness because it no longer belongs to you. You don't ask, should I do this? You ask, is this who I am? That question eliminates hesitation. When identity leads, discipline becomes effortless, and quitting is no longer an option. It simply doesn't match who you are. This all comes down to one brutal truth. Your life is a direct reflection of how much control you have over yourself. Not your background, not your luck, not the system, your mind, your habits, your standards. If you are still stuck, it's because you've tolerated weakness for too long and called it normal. You've let comfort make decisions for you, let talk replace action, and let an old identity define your limits. Nothing changes until you take full responsibility for every outcome in your life. The moment you stop blaming and start owning everything, your failures, your discipline, your effort, is the moment power returns to your hands. Understand this clearly. No one is coming to push you, save you, or believe in you consistently. The world does not reward intentions, emotions, or potential. It rewards execution under pressure. You either train your mind to obey you, or it will control you through fear and comfort. Every day you delay is a day you reinforce the weaker version of yourself. Every hard decision you avoid today becomes a harder life tomorrow. Pain is unavoidable. The only choice is whether you feel it now as discipline or later as regret. You must decide who you are going to be and then live in alignment with that decision without negotiation. When your identity is clear, excuses disappear. When your standards are high, weakness feels uncomfortable. When your actions match your words, confidence becomes unshakable. This is not about motivation or hype. It's about building a version of yourself that can be trusted under pressure. The world respects those who respect themselves enough to do the hard things consistently, even when no one is watching. So make the decision now, not later, not someday. Fix your mind. Reject comfort. Execute in silence. Protect your identity at all costs. Because the truth is harsh but simple. You either level up deliberately, or life will keep reminding you of what happens when you don't. The choice is yours, and it always has been. Thank you for watching and spending your time with this message. If this speech challenged you, inspired you, or made you think differently, then take action on it. Don't let it end here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss powerful content designed to push you beyond your limits. Drop a comment below and let us know what line hit you the hardest, and remember to turn on the notification bell for future uploads. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and keep leveling up. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.